Well, good morning. We are out and about. Oh, that's what she was looking at. There's a lady walking two doggies over there. We've got little Miss Pyaar out. We have a really gorgeous day today. I always start with the weather, right? But look at that. No clouds this way. Oh, looks like somebody peed there. I'll have to wash that up. Wow, no clouds at all. Beautiful. And there is a stack of pavers. We'll get into that part of the story in a moment. So we have a beautiful day. Gorgeous clear skies, very sunny, nice and warm. And speaking of gorgeous and beautiful, how are you, my friends? How did your evening go? How did your day go yesterday? Anything exciting happen? Anything new? Just checking in. See how everything was, how everything went for you. So, let's see, my night. Night was good. I had people show up for my 6:30 class, so that was great. I got a couple people back from vacation. One's getting ready to go on vacation. And then I got one lady that's just kind of back at it, which is good. So, yeah, it was a good night. A good night for the studio. And I did go to Target, finally, and checked out their clearance, and I found this little dress on clearance for $10. For $10, I could be happy with that. So, got that. Picked that up. It's got a little V in the back as well. Same cut front and back. And let's see. And it's just a little shift dress. And it's a seersucker. So kind of cute. Oh, this tree's getting trimmed. Show you. And of course they're going to be noisy. But there's bucket truck. I've already gotten quite a bit trimmed off of it. And of course I'll cross the street. So we'll have to check it out tomorrow and see how much of that tree they ended up taking down. Let's cross. Okey-doke. I like it. Wonder if they're gonna take the whole tree out. It's the messiest tree, really. But come on, girl. Oh, and it's Tuesday morning, just so we don't lose track of time. Wow, I really like what they did with their front yard here. Let me show you. Oh, pull back. Pull back. So, and they brought their wall into the front of the house, which is nice. I like that. Very nice. Okay. And here we go. Back to our walk. I don't remember what I was saying. Probably not that important. Yeah, just how was your night? I went through that. I told about my students being back. We had a nice class last night. I don't know what that buzzing is. Don't want to stand under that tree just in case. So that was that. I got up this morning. The dogs let me sleep a smidge later, so that was nice, and took care of them and got dressed and came over here. So I showed you that big pile of pavers, and I have to show you this. This is cute. So in another art sculpture, so it's like a mama coyote with her babies all around it, all howling up at the moon. It's like she's teaching them. Super cute. Okay, so the pile of those pavers, those are 12 by 12s that got delivered. So we are trying to get everything ready so it'll roll in nice order for the pool. So that's the landscaping for around the pool. The side of the pool between the wall and the pool, we're just going to do pavers with rock in between. However, all of the rest of it around the pool, we're going to do 24 by 24 inch pavers. We're going to paint them a white color, and not white though. Oh, I wonder what kind of bush this is. Oh, I think it's mango. Hold on, this. Those are little mangoes. I don't walk on this side of the street that often. They look like mangoes. And he's got it all fenced around. That's kind of exciting. The tree is bearing fruit. That one have fruit on it? No. So on the other 3 sides of the pool, we're going to do 24 by 24 pavers with 6 to 8 inches in between, and then the fake grass going in between that. And right now I have some flagstone that's along the side of the patio. Come on, girl. And that flagstone we're going to move in front of the outdoor kitchen, and then anything that's left over, we'll just take it a little further along the side of the house. So that's the plan there. So there's like 130 of those small pavers that got delivered today. They're supposed to deliver everything at once. They did not. They also did not tell us that it wasn't all coming at once. So of course, my husband got on the phone. He's like, hey, where's my whole delivery? And they're like, oh, it didn't come. And he's like, no, it didn't come. So they're going to refund him the delivery charge, which was only $79, but still makes my husband happy. He didn't want to have to pay that to begin with. And they're supposed to deliver them either tomorrow or Thursday. And we have 300 of the 24 by 24 pavers coming. Of course, none of that can happen until the pool is done. I also decided I'm going to paint the inside of the wall. So we bought all the paint for that. And, you know, that's going to happen. I feel like we'll see what this weekend brings. You know, she's a girl dog, okay? Girl dogs squat when they pee. But she's been hanging with her cousins who are boy dogs, so she sees them lift. So now she tries to lift, which is quite funny to watch. All right, let's cross back over. Get her on the shadier side of the street because she's already panting away. So anyway, that's the paver thing. We did go and I did pick out the paint, and it'd be nice if we could do travertine, but I can't do travertine. We just can't afford that. That's crazy expensive. So we got the pavers, and then I took a piece of travertine to Sherwin-Williams, and I said, can we color match this? And they said, well, it has so many different shades in it, we can't, but you can kind of pick the color that's closest that you like, you know, whatever you want to pull from the travertine. And I want to keep it really white and bright back there. So that's, I got to kind of, can't remember the name of the colors, but got one color for the pavers with one sheen and then a different sheen for the wall. So that's what we're looking at. And then my big idea for the wall, Jeff wanted to do a mural on it, and I'm not against it, and we're on the same wavelength but not 100%. I want to, instead of a mural, I want to do mosaics. So I want to find a picture I like and then see if I can't figure out how to kind of impose that onto the wall, trace it out, and then, you know, get some tile and break the tile up and then put it in there and do the mural out of mosaics. And it'll take forever to do. I'm well aware of that. But it's kind of what I have in my head. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But to get it painted back there, which will be another shade of white, and they'll probably look very similar because they're only like one shade off from one another. And he's all worried. He's like, it's going to get rust. It's going to look like rust. I'm like, how is it going to look like rust? First of all, we don't get that much rain. And he's like pointing to the house across the street that has rust. I said, that has rust on the outside because that pipe up there is the drain pipe from the AC, and it's coming down onto their house. So that's why that's got rust. Because we don't have sprinkler systems. And none of that happening here. So that's that. Nothing more in the pool. Other than, I don't know where we left off, but yesterday he said he heard from the main contractor. And the electrician still isn't up and running, and they're going to see what they can do to get him up and running. But they scheduled the pebble decking to come out on the 27th. He's like, we'll have you in your pool by the 4th of July. Don't worry. Well, first of all, almost always rains here on the 4th of July. I don't know why. It rained last year a bit. And everybody says that it rains on the 4th of July here. So whatever. I mean, not whatever. I want it done. I haven't given up on that, but I also, yes, I want it done. I want it done by the 4th of July, well before the 4th of July. Even if they finish it by the 4th of July, I still have to have it inspected. So, you know, but it's my lesson in patience. So that's where we're at with that. And let's cross, little girl. Might be shadier on the other side for you. So now that's that update. I will continue on with our story time. So plastic surgery, part 2. So I had told you about finding the surgeon, told you about the surgery, told you about a couple of the complications, and left off with the infectious disease doctor and being on the IV antibiotics and how sick I was and how I had to close down the studio for the month. And I started telling you it was about 2 weeks into the treatment. And I can't remember. We were thinking we'd have to close down the studio. And the landlord wasn't going to necessarily let me out of the lease. And then he got kind of shady. And he's like, well, if you went out of the lease, you know, you're still gonna have to pay X amount, and I'll take your sauna. And Jeff's like, fuck you. I'm not giving you my sauna. And so we he went to the studio. I don't remember why he was going there, but he came home from the studio and he was kind of riled up because that really, really pissed him off what that landlord had said and done. So he came home and, of course, fuming. Hello. Of course, he's fuming. And I just remember I was so sick. I mean, really, within 5 minutes of that medicine running through me, I would start throwing up. And I would throw up almost nonstop. Even if you had nothing in you, it was still, that was all happening still. And he went into the bathroom, and the next thing I know, I hear a thud. And I look over now, mind you, I'm getting my IV. My IV is going through me at this point. Like I'm actively taking the medicine in. So I'm not feeling real great. I hear a thud. I look into the bathroom and he's lying on the floor. So I get out of bed, IV pole in hand, and I go in the bathroom. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? He said, I can't breathe. I said, what do you mean you can't breathe? You're talking, you're breathing. He's like, no, Rose, I can't breathe. I said, okay. And he broke into a sweat. Sound familiar? Broke into a sweat. And I called 911 right away. And he's like, no, you don't have to call 911. I'm like, yeah, I have to call 911. You know, as I'm trying to hold it together myself, because here I have an IV bag dripping through me and trying not to, you know, be sick myself. And I gave him a cool towel again because he broke into a sweat, and 911 got there right away. We lived very close to the hospital. They got there right away and got him onto a gurney, took him downstairs, got him into the ambulance. While all that was going on, I stopped my IV and got a bag together for myself, got a bag for him, and headed to the hospital. They left before me. And the hospital, when I say we were close to the hospital, I mean maybe 2 miles from the hospital. And I get to the hospital before him again. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? So they get there, they bring him in, they're working on him. He'd had a massive heart attack. And he had to have triple bypass surgery right away. So that was that. That was that. And I was just, there I am. I've got a PICC line in me. I've stopped my medication and ran to the hospital. I mean, I was there, like I said, before he was. So evidently I got to the hospital before the ambulance because he coded in the ambulance. So he had basically died in the ambulance, and they brought him back. And then I guess they managed to stabilize him in the ER. And come on, girl, don't pee on their pretty grass. And they took him up, got him prepped for surgery. And they told me, you know, how long the surgery was going to take and all of that and what they expected anyway. And I waited. And they told me that the surgery went well. You know, I don't remember how many hours it was. Surgery went well. He ended up having a triple bypass. They harvested veins from his leg and his arm. And he was in ICU. And they said I wasn't going to be able to see him probably for 8 hours or more. And I had, at that point, I had gotten my laptop and I was working from the hospital. And yeah, I wasn't even working at that time for the doctor. I don't think. No, I wasn't yet working with the doctor. At any rate, I had my laptop there. I remember that. And so I was doing some kind of work. And I just knew that I couldn't do my medication with me getting as sick as I do. So I think I went like 3 or 4 days without my medication while he was in ICU. And at any rate, they told me, look, it's going to be, he's got a tube. They ventilated him. He has a tube in his throat. You're not going to be able to see him until that comes out. If we're lucky, it's going to be 8 to 10 hours before that tube comes out. I said, okay, I'll be right here. So not even an hour later, a nurse comes out to me and she says, can you come in? She says, it's not going to be anything that you want to see. She said he's not in good shape, but he's highly agitated and he really wants to see you. She goes, and we need him to be calm. So if you could come. I said, of course. I packed everything up. I went in. I was, holding his hand. I was talking to him. And I could tell, like, he wanted this tube out of his throat. And I said, listen, they can't remove the tube right now. You have to be able to breathe on your own. And you are too anxious. I said, if you want this tube out, I said, let's breathe. So I took him through a series of yoga breathing. Same breath I teach my students. So we spent probably 30 minutes just doing the deep belly breathing. And he kept like digging into my hands, like he was writing on my hand with his finger, and I couldn't understand what he was wanting. I said, listen, I know this is uncomfortable and I know you want it out, but you have to be calm. You have to be able to breathe on your own. I said, so let's do this. Let's calm down. Let's relax, So go on doing the yoga breathing. I want to say it was probably 35, 45 minutes. And the nurse looks at me very quizzically and says, you know what? She goes, I'm going to ask you to step out right now. I said, okay, no problem. She can leave your stuff here. I said, okay. So I step out and she comes and gets me about 20 minutes later. And she says, okay. She says, this tube is out. She said, I have never in my life seen anybody come off a vent that fast. She said, that was amazing. Thank you very much. Come back in. You can stay as long as you want. Overnight is fine. I was like, okay. So I went back in. He had the tube out. He's breathing on his own. And, then it all begins. Then the fun begins. He's uncomfortable. He's scared. Talked to him, explained everything to him, and, told him I would stay. Not to worry. That I had to go back to the house, though, at some point and get some clothes and, what have you. At the time, God, was anybody living with us? I can't remember if anybody was living with us or not. I had so many people living with us in that house. It was like a revolving door. But there must have been somebody there because I I didn't have to worry about the dogs. My sister wasn't there, and his family isn't there, so we must have had somebody living there. Hang on, girl. There you go. So he's in ICU. He gets out of ICU in like 3 days, I want to say 2.5 days. They get him into a room on the floor. Stayed there as well. Once I got him into a room on the floor, they were so kind. They brought a bed in for me. They saw my PICC line. The nurse says, "What's going on?" I told her. She was like, "Okay, well, you need your meds." I said, "Yes, I do. But right now, this is the priority, and I'll start up again and hope everything's okay." She says, "You've already been off of them for too long." She says, "I'm going to bring a bed in here for you." She says, "Go home and get your meds." She goes, "We cannot help you with them, but we can't tell you can't have them either." I was like, "Okay, no problem. Thank you so much." So they brought a bed in, put it next to his. I went home, I got all my meds, and I started my IV again. And I was sick in the hospital, throwing up. And I told the nurses, on each shift, I said, "Listen, this is what's going on. This makes me very sick. I will be vomiting. It sounds very violent." I said, "It's not, your concern. And if there's anything he needs, I will, of course, help out how I can, but let you know." So we're in the hospital for about a week. So I did a week's worth of my IV meds in the hospital, and then went home and basically took care of myself and my husband while getting the last week of IV meds into my body. So, yeah. We've been through it a little bit. Got the IV meds, got the IV taken care of, 30 days in. Had to do the pill IV or the pill antibiotic for several months still. So I want to say it was like 18 months on the pills. Of course, checked in with my doctor, the infectious disease doctor, probably weekly, I believe. And then at the end of the 18 months, hold on, girl, he said, "Well, the infection is still there, but it's so little of it. There's really no evidence that keeping you on the antibiotics is going to clear it the rest of the way. The best thing we can do is you keep an eye on it, and if it starts up again, then you're going to come back and we're going to go through this all over again." I said, "Okay." So that was that. So the infection is still inside of me in some place, and I'm just going to sit on the stairs, finish talking to you. I have on a little short skirt, so I don't want to flash the neighbors. And you probably just looked down my cleavage. Sorry about that. So finished. Oh, and I have the spot on my chin. I felt like a zit was coming in. God forbid I not pick at it. And I didn't pick at it, but I did take alcohol and just kind of douse it with alcohol. And it created that. Sorry about that. So that's, anyway, I'm not apologizing for that, but just explaining it. I also feel like I have something coming in on the side of my nose here too. So strange. And yes, I'm glistening. It's warm out, but I love it. So, we're in frame. Can't see. That was that. The holes in my body healed up. I did have a surgery before I went on the antibiotics. I had to go in for surgery, and they did a debridement. So they followed the channel that they found that all the infection was in, and they cleaned it out as best they could. I had that done twice. And then I got onto the IV antibiotics. And those debridements happened before Jeff's heart attack. So I thought that maybe I was having another episode when I first moved here, actually, because there was this yellow stuff on my white shirt, and then I looked at my belly button and I saw, what the hell that is, a bug? Yeah. And I saw some yellow stuff on my white shirt. I'm like, oh shit. So, but the belly button healed over and nothing more came out of it. So we're good. We're good. That's good. Not inviting any kind of trouble. Because we went through quite a bit in a short period of time. And yeah, so that was our medical sagas. And quite interestingly enough, I mean, I've never so much as had a broken bone. I think it was once when I was young, I was in the hospital to have my tonsils removed. Other than that, never had any health issues. As an adult, I did break the 5th metatarsal in my foot. I did have a surgery on that. Another story, another day. Short story. And I might have already shared that one with you. However, that is that. So that catches you up on the gastric bypass surgery, the cosmetic surgery to remove the excess skin, and the infection that came as a result of that. I did say that I would not recommend Dr. Jeffrey Labrasso, and explained to you why. And he's had plenty of successful surgeries. Mine was not. Is that his fault? I don't know. If, and you just don't know. And I'm very badly scarred on my right hip from the surgery, from those stitches that he didn't replace. Because like I said, he only did the back, he never redid the front. And had he redone the front, who knows, maybe this would not have ever happened. So, but we'll never know. Never know. That is just my story and my experience. And based on my experiences, that's why I would not recommend him. But obviously I liked him. I mean, he checked out. He had great bedside manner. I mean, everything that I saw that he had done was great. But I didn't care for the aftercare. It's like he just dropped off. He's never returned my calls, So, live and learn. And so I have. I am a proponent, of plastic surgery. If it's something that you want and you're doing it for you and not to make someone else happy, then go for it. Do your due diligence and hope for the best. Because I did my due diligence, I feel, and I didn't get the most optimal outcome. Didn't die. We're alive. It's all good. And yes, we did consider medical malpractice, and we saw 2 attorneys, and basically they told us, because she's alive, you don't have a case. They said that it is extremely difficult to get surgeons to basically turn on one another. They said that yes, they would request all the medical records and they would review them, but it has to also be peer reviewed. And then you have to have this other doctor, another plastic surgeon, say this was negligence in order for you to have a case. And he said it's nearly impossible to get plastic surgeons to do that. If I had died, my husband would have had a case. And that would not have been a question. So that was very interesting. And like I said, we had 2 different attorneys tell us that. So here we are. And that is that. Little Jeffrey update. He's doing good today. He said he's feeling a little weak, He's got a doctor's appointment, a televisit in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to get inside so that I can kind of hear what's going on and be there if they need the story, because he doesn't know the story because he wasn't conscious. Anyway, that is us. That is today's story time and walk with Pyaar and little catch up. And we will talk again very soon. I hope you have an amazing day and go out there and be fabulous. See you soon.